if I pass out, you need to tell somebody I'm pregnant. And she was like,
Stop
what?
it!
She's like, you're lying, you're not pregnant. I've had class with you, like, are you really? And I was like, yeah, girl, I'm pregnant. They kept it a secret for the rest of the semester from the whole team and everything. But they got to witness like the morning sicknesses. At that point, my dad had pretty much cut me off from everything. My life turned upside down. I became an adult real quick.
The struggle is very real financially, finding out that you're pregnant, trying to juggle school. Money gets tight really quickly.
I could never imagine, being almost full term and having to walk around a college campus, because you do get judged, and I know you get looked at, and it's just gonna happen.
Man, I wish so badly I didn't have to scrape by and figure it out on my own.
No, girl, I didn't see a speck of light. I was like, where is the light? I couldn't find it, and I didn't see it.
There's a moment in life when everything changes, when the path you thought you were on suddenly takes a sharp turn you never saw coming. For today's guest, that moment came during her final semester of college when a pregnancy test handed to her as a birthday gift turned her world upside down. Born and raised in Auburn, Alabama, she grew up with a loving, faith-filled mom and a complicated relationship with her dad. Independent and determined, she graduated high school early, joined the rodeo team, and started chasing big dreams. But becoming a mom before graduation was never part of the plan. What followed was a season of isolation and uncertainty, quitting the rodeo team she loved, losing her father's support, and questioning how she'd make it through. Yet in the midst of it all, she discovered an inner strength and resilience she didn't know she had. Today, she's here to share her story of walking across that graduation stage while 5 months pregnant, of raising her daughter completely on her own, of building a business from nothing, and of eventually finding love and stability again. If you're listening for the first time, we are so glad you're here. This podcast exists because of generous donors who believe no student mom should ever have to face an unplanned pregnancy alone. If that mission moves you, we'd love for you to consider making a tax-deductible gift. Just click the link in our show notes for more information. And if you're enjoying these conversations, one of the easiest and most impactful ways to support us is by leaving a 5-star review. It helps more people discover these brave and beautiful stories. All right, y'all, without further ado, let's jump into Sabrena's story. Sabrena, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us on the podcast today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to jump right on in, talk to our listeners about where you went to college and what college life was like for you.
So my freshman year, I actually went to Troy University, and I did the whole rushing experience, and that was great and everything. But after a year there, I kind of realized that that wasn't exactly where I was supposed to be. My mom told me about the University of West Alabama, and it's like near her hometown and where all her family's from. I'd personally never heard of it. It's in a very small town called Livingston, directly on the other side of Alabama near Mississippi. So she was like, why don't you just, go tour the school, go see if you even like it, we could make something work where you could like bring your horses and have them there, since I had family over there. So I was like, okay, didn't know a single soul there, didn't know the campus. So I went and we did like the orientation, I guess, and
Yes.
I went and I toured the school. And for some odd reason, I just made this random giant leap to just go to West Alabama. And so, so glad that I did. It ended up being like the best decision ever, and I thrived there. But so that's where I went, is UWA.
So talk to me. You said to bring your horses with you. Did I hear that right?
Yes. So I'm a horse girl, and the sorority life was like, it was very fun, but it just, after a while, like I really missed my horses, and that's like where, that was like my best version of myself, was being with my horses, having my horses. I had ridden my whole life.
Oh my gosh.
And so I was like, okay, if there's an opportunity to go to college and have my horses, I'm gonna do that. So I went to West Alabama, and then eventually, after a year being there, got asked to join the rodeo team. So, and I had my horses there, so it just ended up like all falling into place.
I mean, that's got to be a lot of work to take care of horses and then be on a collegiate rodeo team. What did your days look like?
Oh my gosh, days were busy. You'd wake up early in the morning before your 8 a.m.s, and you'd go to the barn and you'd feed your horses and make sure they were taken care of. Then you'd go to class, and in between classes, I was either at the library 24/7 or at the barn. And then we had practice. And also worked for a vet clinic at the time, and I did a paid internship for the College of Business. So I was never not busy, and I don't think I slept very much either.
I can only imagine. And what kind of rodeo riding did you do?
So I only did barrel racing. So the team
So
consisted of bull riders, goat tyers, bronc riders, calf ropers, a little bit of everything, but I just stuck to what I know, and that was barrel racing.
I love that. There are such cool videos to watch.
Oh
Truly,
my gosh, yeah.
it is quite a sport. So now all of that busyness and you find out you're pregnant. Walk us through what emotion, number one, went through your head when you found out, and how did you find out?
Oh my gosh, so that's a story in itself. It was my last semester. I was about to get my bachelor's in business administration, and I had come home to Auburn for the weekend to celebrate my 23rd birthday. My 23rd birthday was on that Sunday, and we went out, me and my friends. I was not with the father of my child at that particular moment. So I was enjoying myself that weekend, and then Sunday rolled around, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm very sick. I obviously I can't handle my alcohol anymore. I didn't know what was going on. But so that Sunday was my birthday. I go home back to Livingston because I had school the next Monday, and I'm just so sick. Wow. And I tell my child's father, I was like, I'm just so sick. And, we were broken up. So I get home, I'm unloading my horses because I'd taken them with me and everything. So I get home and I'm unloading them in Livingston, and he shows up and he was like, I got you a birthday present. And I was like, oh, did you? And he was like, yeah. And he holds up a pregnancy test and he was like, I want you to take this. And I was like,
No.
I'm not pregnant. I'm not even a day late on my period. I'm supposed to start today. So I was like, I'm not pregnant. Not a doubt in my mind. So I was also on birth control. So very, very unexpected and unplanned.
Sure.
So I took the pregnancy test, and sure enough, it said positive. Wow. And I was just in utter shock and disbelief, and, I cried, and it was just a roller coaster of emotions, and I didn't even, I couldn't go to my parents at the time. I was just like, what am I going to do? So very unexpected, and it was like my world did a 360 right then. It panicked, yes, full panic mode. So
I mean, you're juggling so much as it is, as a collegiate athlete, working, internship, school. Right. I can only imagine the pure shock, especially with your boyfriend at the time there thinking that, you should take a pregnancy test. That's a lot to take in an immediate, time frame.
Right. Holy cow. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So once you saw that pregnancy test and you panicked, who's the first person that comes to mind that you feel like you have to tell?
So my childhood best friend had already had a daughter at the time. Okay. I think her daughter was around a year old. And so I called her and I was like, what do I do? Can this be fake? Is this really happening? Is this real life? And she was like, well, first of all, you need to wait and take a second one, first thing when you wake up in the morning. Yeah. So about 5 in the morning, that next morning, I took another one, and before I even pulled my pants up, it said positive. Wow. And so then I called my mom's friend, who's an OB, and I was like, look, this is my current situation. I'm just I need to know when and where, how do I set up an appointment? Give me some time to tell my mom. And so, but for a good few weeks, I didn't tell anybody other than those first few people, and I don't even think I had my first appointment till 10 or 11 weeks because I was just waiting. So
just pushing it off.
Yeah, just pushing it off.
So do you keep going to practice on the rodeo team, or what does that look like?
So after I found out I was pregnant, only a week or two later, I got pulled for a drug test, and I was like, oh no, the last thing I want to do is take a drug test and it somehow come back that I'm pregnant and my coach find out.
Right.
So right then and there that day, I really didn't have a choice. I think it was just, everything is meant to happen for a reason. I think that was God's planning, hey, you need to probably quit now sooner rather than later. So there is like going to be no hiding this. So I texted my coach and I was like, hey, I quit the team. Like, I just quit the team. And I was doing so well. I was like one of the only girls on our points team, the only barrel racer that had made it back to short rounds in several years. He was like, okay, why? Because, like, why? Is it because of the drug test? And I was like, I just got a lot going on. Like, I just am going to quit the team. And he was like, okay, well, make sure, you get all your stuff from the barn. And, so that's how I quit. And then I also lived with 2 other roommates that were on the rodeo team. I lived with a bull rider and another barrel racer.
Okay.
And eventually had to end up telling them pretty soon. I was close to them, and
Okay.
they kept it a secret for the rest of the semester from the whole team and everything. But they got to witness like the morning sicknesses and like, so they definitely were a good support system for me at the time.
Absolutely. What made you so scared to tell your coach?
Just the fact that, like, I don't know, when you think of a coach, you think of somebody that's, kind of like a leader and an influencer and a role model, and it's almost like having to tell, your parent or somebody. So in that fact and that aspect, it was just scary, and I was like, I'm probably the first person ever to get pregnant and be on the rodeo team, and he had only been a coach for like 2 years at the time, so it was just really intimidating.
I bet. Absolutely. And then your parents are a whole nother aspect.
Right.
When did you tell them and what was their reaction?
So I told my mom, I found out in January, at the end of January, and I think I told her towards the end of February because it was near Valentine's or after Valentine's Day. But I told my mom, and she has like raised kids her whole life. She had a home daycare, so every day I'd come home from school, she'd have like 6 kids at home, So she was shocked. She was like, the last thing I expected was for you to have a kid, because I didn't ever think, you were going to have kids. But she was very shocked, but she was also like very excited. Like, she cried happy tears, and what, I knew she was going to take it pretty good. My dad, on the other hand, is very like old school, very conservative, so you can imagine how that went. I think he was very, very disappointed, and that kind of led to like that was the start of like kind of like our relationship ending, because he was so disappointed. And so I think he just, had better, like, he just had different plans for me, and that was not in his plan. So it was very hard telling him. I told him by myself. Actually, I told him in front of my brother, who already knew at the time.
So what does it look like going back to school? What kind of support system do you have to finish school and get your degree?
I had what very little friends knew back at home, probably like 2 or 3 of my closest friends back here in Auburn that knew, and so they texted me and would check in on me. But for the most part, it was really my roommates that were physically there with me that, really just kept me company and held me accountable for finishing what I needed to finish, and kept me going through school at the time. And then I think I told one of my really close guy friends who I did the internship with. I ended up telling him, and and I told a professor of mine. I was very close to all my professors, and so just having their support, and they kept me very accountable, and I feel like that was great to have.
And then how do you financially support yourself at that point?
So at that point, my dad had pretty much cut me off from everything. He was like my financial supporter as far as like the horses and my vehicle and my gas and my rent and all that went. But from that point on, my life turned upside down. I became an adult real quick, and I financially had to support myself. Wow. For the most part. I'd say like 80 to 90%. So I just I kept going with my internship and my job as a vet tech at the time, and I knew when I got home that life was about to be different, and I had to get a big girl job, and I had to start planning for a baby and all the expenses that come with that.
Did you ever sign up for government help like WIC or food stamps?
I did get on WIC, yes, and I
Okay.
feel like, like thank God for WIC because
Yep.
being pregnant and starting out and like finding a job, there were some days I was so broke to begin with. Like I will say it, I was so broke. I was pregnant and there were days where I couldn't even afford to go get lunch. Like it was just that rough. So thank God for WIC. And then when I was pregnant with her and when I had her, there was also the major formula shortage. And so
Right.
formula was sky high. It still is today, but it was
Yeah.
sky high. I can remember sending people over into Georgia to find her formula and bringing it back for me. And so just thank goodness that there are, there's stuff like WIC and like food stamps and government support.
Absolutely, because it is so hard to juggle all of the different aspects while being pregnant. And
Right.
like you, I mean, I remember looking in the pantry and only having a few boxes of Velveeta mac and cheese. And like
Yep,
that
that's
was
it.
it, because that's what happened to be on sale that week. And the struggle is very real financially, finding out that you're pregnant, trying to juggle school. I was waiting tables on the side, but like you said, you're working as a vet tech or trying to finish up that internship. Money gets
Right.
tight really quickly.
It does.
So did you try to hide your pregnancy, or was this something you were pretty open about as you continued on with your education?
Oh no, I hit it. Even through the last few months, we're giving presentations and we're wrapping up, our final semester. And I hit it. I wore like loose fitted shirts, even though like you couldn't really tell on me. You couldn't tell I was pregnant up until like the last month or two.
Right.
So, but I mean, I hit it for at least 5 months. I finally, I think I announced it the day I graduated college. So many people at school, and back at home were like, I was in a wedding for my friend and like we wore tight fitted dresses and no one knew. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, you're the best secret keeper ever, because we had no idea. So yeah, I didn't even like come out with it till 5 or 6 months.
What made you feel like you had to hide it?
I just didn't, I wasn't, it's not that I was in denial, but I wasn't ready for my life to change yet. And I think if everybody knew outside of me, then it was about to change. I knew the moment, like everybody knew, friends, family, not friends, that my life was like really about to change and I had to come to terms with it. So I felt like it was a secret that I needed to hold until I was ready for just the announcement and ready for my world to change.
And that's a heavy burden. I mean, I'm not a great secret keeper. I
It
try
was
not to
hard.
know secrets because it's a
Right.
burden to have to hold
Hard.
those.
Yeah.
And day in and day out, and then you especially being so sick and not having your parents' support, did you feel a sense of isolation or loneliness during this period of time?
I think I did, yeah. Looking back, like I'm sure I had my moments where I felt really lonely. But like I said, if my two roommates really kept me company and really held me accountable, and I think that's what got me through a lot.
I love that. I love that you had a little bit of support there.
Me too. I needed
And
it.
then walking on campus, you said you hit it pretty well. So do you feel like people were looking at you, or do you feel like they just didn't even know because you weren't showing yet?
Like internally, you're like, they're looking at me, or do they know? Or when I was
Yep.
presenting in front of class, I'm
Yep.
pulling my shirt away from my
Yes.
tummy. But no, nobody knew. My body hid it very well for a long time, and thank goodness, it was just my last semester of college. I could never imagine, being almost full term and having to walk around a college campus, because you do get judged, and I know you get looked at, and it's just going to happen.
Absolutely. And then what does it look like with your dad? Was he the same all the way through your pregnancy, and is he still upset now, or is this relationship been restored?
We're working on restoring things. I think he's still not disappointed, but he just kind of wanted me to take a different path in life and wanted to see things work out differently. But I think he's also seen what a good mother I've been and how I've stepped up to the plate, and not only have I taken care of myself, but I've taken care of her. And so I think he he kind of respects that in a way, and so we're mending that relationship. But for a long time it was very little communication, and so we're mending that.
I love that. It gives me mixed feelings because my parents reacted similar to yours as far as pulling financial resources. And when I look back at it, I'm like, man, I wish so badly I didn't have to scrape by and figure it out on my own. But that really shaped me into who I am today. I mean, we talk about grit a lot on this podcast and having to figure things out in the moment that would really crush a lot of people. Do you feel like having to handle that entire situation, essentially financially on your own, has changed who you are today?
Oh yes, like you said, like it gave me that grit and that drive. Now at the time I didn't know how I was going to do it. I literally took it day by day. But I've proven to myself that I can do it. It's not always easy, and you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to work for it, but you put one foot in front of the other and you just keep going.
So true. So what was graduation like? You got to take us back. Was it the happiest moment of your life like it was for me?
Yes, I was happy, but they also had us out on a green football turf in May. Black gowns. I'm talking beaming sun. I'm almost 5 months pregnant at this time, and I'm just like fanning myself.
Oh my God.
And like everybody around me is like dripping sweat. People in the audience or in the stands are like getting up and leaving because it's so hot. And I just remember looking to my friend. She was also on the rodeo team, and she was in several of my classes. I remember looking at her, and she was like, I'm going to pass out. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to pass out too. And I was like fanning myself, and I was like, look, if I pass out, like, you need to tell somebody I'm pregnant. And she was like,
Stop
what?
it!
She's like, you're lying. You're not pregnant. I've had class with you. Like, are you really? And I was like, yeah, girl, I'm pregnant. So if I pass out right here, right now, just tell somebody.
Oh my gosh, what a shock that probably was for her.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I think she about fell out of her chair.
She almost passed out just from that
news.
Yeah,
she did. Yes, she did.
Oh my goodness. So how have you seen your whole unplanned pregnancy situation impact your life after graduation?
Oh my gosh, well, it didn't, life was not what I expected it to be after I graduated. Of course, being pregnant, shifted me. I did a 180. I had to grow up real quick. I thought I was going to have some time to, have a job and get up on my feet and, and get a house and do this and do that. But it took a 180, and, things changed real fast, and I did not walk down the path that I thought I was going to, but everything did work out.
I love that. And you end up meeting somebody, is that correct?
I did. I'm currently in a relationship with a really amazing guy. He fought tooth and nail for 2 years to be with me, but I was going through more. Oh my gosh, I was going through so much, and we would go on dates, but my daughter was like my primary focus, and I'm very, particular about my daughter. I don't have guys around her. Guys don't come to my house. Guys don't spend the night. Like, I'm very weird. So he dated me for almost 2 years before, he was finally like, hey, look, like, you've got to at least let me know there's a shot in you dating me. And so finally I was like, yeah, I'll give you a chance. But he has been like the best thing ever. And, now he's like forming a relationship with her. And he has just stepped into this role that he didn't have to take on, but he has. And he has done such an amazing job with both of us.
Oh my goodness. And with that being said, things with the father of your child, did they just not work out?
They did not work out for, many different reasons. I just believe it was not in the cards for us to be together.
Yes.
That took a long time to, accept, I guess, because we tried. Like, even after she was born, we tried to make it work, and there were just reasons that it didn't and it couldn't, and there was stuff I couldn't look past, and there was stuff I couldn't get over. And thank goodness some things did happen. It was a curse then, but a blessing now, because everything happens for a reason. But yeah, we're still figuring out the co-parenting thing.
That's hard. That's definitely hard. Absolutely. If you looked back, through your entire unplanned pregnancy journey, would there be anything that you would go back and change?
As bad as like, the struggle was bad. The struggle was so real. And like I said, there were times where I didn't even eat. But I don't know if I would change anything, because like I'm so happy and content now with where we are and how I'm doing, and everything that has happened has led me to here. So I don't know if I would change anything, as crazy as that is.
No, I agree, because every step you take during that journey, as hard as it is in the moment, sometimes you have to push through those hard times
Right.
to learn what you're capable of and what strength you have. There's this quote, and it's like something about, you don't know how strong you are until strong is the only thing left you have to be. And I really believe that, because, we live in a society where really everything is pretty instantaneously given to us. We want Amazon in 2 days, right? We want Insta meals. We want everything pretty quickly. But character that's rooted in hard work and somebody who has faced adversity and come out the other side, you're just built differently than the rest of the world, who has never seen what it's like to have to pull up your bootstraps and walk through some really hard scenarios. And so I think to go back to the point we were talking about, I think it really builds character that can never be taken from you. Those experiences just build upon a character that you probably wouldn't have, and a work ethic you wouldn't have if you'd not faced these challenges.
Right. No, I totally agree. Yeah, it's hard to believe that I overcame a bunch of the stuff that I did, but like looking back, that shaped me into the person and the mom and the, now I guess, business owner that I am. And yeah.
So talk to me about this business. What are you doing these days?
So, after college, I took a job with my dad. That was my original goal, and worked for him for just a few months while, being pregnant. But working for family is hard. It's very hard. He owns a trucking company, so I was like gonna do all the books and the in works and all that. But after that didn't work out, I worked as an assistant project manager for a low income housing construction company, and I'm talking like that was a big girl job. I dealt with specs and subs and quotes and city regulations and license and blueprints. So, but I just sat at a desk all day and realized I wasn't happy there. So after I had my daughter, I was like, okay, like I want to raise her. I don't want to have to put her in daycare. For one, it's super duper expensive here in Auburn. It's like a house mortgage. I'm sure you know that. But I was like, I want to raise her. So what can I do to allow me a flexible schedule, to allow me to work for myself and still raise her? And, there's all these like at-home jobs you can do on a computer and stuff. But my heart has always been with horses. So I tried to find something horse-related. So while I was in college, I heard about this. It's like a therapeutic machine. It's a PEMF, a pulse electromagnetic field machine, and it's almost like a TENS unit, but it doesn't like shock the body. It sends a pulse through the body and works the body at a cellular level. So I was like, okay, I'm going to really do my research, and I read testimonies about this machine and things it had done for people and animals and everything, and I was like, okay, this machine is a lot of money, so I'm going to have to take out a loan. So I took out my first ever business loan and I bought this machine. And I was like, my primary focus is going to be performance horses, like barrel horses and, calf roping horses. Well, then I'd like really started getting into, there's a big clientele for English horses around here, like hunters and jumpers and and a whole nother world I really didn't know about, but I have amazing clientele in that world, and the horse world is just word of mouth. So my business has it's just kind of swept away, and it kept going. And I've worked on a lot of performance horses, and now I'm working on, I'll work on canines, and it helps with like arthritis. So I'll work on a lot of like athletes or elderly people. I also work on, now I'm looking more into peds, like children with disabilities and stuff. So I've worked on one of those so far, but hopefully going to continue to kind of work into the peds industry a little bit, or just anybody and everything that needs some pain relief. So it's been great.
Did you ever think that there would be light at the end of the tunnel and you'd be running your own business, able to raise your daughter after this entire situation?
No, girl, I didn't see a speck of light. I was like, where is the light? I couldn't find it and I didn't see it. But like I said, like one foot in front of the other, just kept walking, and I got up and I did it and I went for it. And there were days where I was slow, and there's still some weeks where I might be a little bit slow, but it worked out. It's working out really good.
So what are your hopes when it comes to the future, talking about conversations surrounding unplanned pregnancies? Because it is very taboo. It is a hard thing to talk about. But knowing that you hid your pregnancy for so long, you felt that stigma in real life. It does exist in today's world. What would you hope that people would understand that maybe they misunderstand about student moms?
Maybe just to show them a little bit more grace, and just, you don't always know their circumstances. You don't always know their situation. It's not always planned. That's like the first thing people asked, or would assume about me, is like, oh, you wanted a baby? No, I didn't. I was on birth control. This was so unplanned. But just give them a little bit of grace, show them a little bit of support, and, you don't always know their situation and their circumstances.
Yes. And if you could talk to your younger self looking at that positive pregnancy test and give her advice, what would you say to yourself?
I think I would tell her it's going to be hard, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and you just got to get there, and it's going to be so rewarding. Like, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be rewarding, and your daughter is going to end up being the best thing that ever happened to you.
I love that. I just got chills. Such sweet advice. So sweet. Well, Sabrena, thank you so much for taking the time to be so vulnerable with your story and to give our listeners hope. I mean, I always hope that there are people listening to this who are walking through an unplanned pregnancy situation, and they need to grab onto a story that will give them the determination that they need to finish this. And that's what these stories are. Hearing you even give yourself advice of, it's going to be okay, and this is going to be the best thing that ends up happening to you. You just don't see it yet.
Right. Yeah, you're so right. There's got to be some hope to hold on to, and I hope that, somebody in my similar situation, it might be scary, but just know that you can get through it. You can ask for help, get that support, however it may be, if you need it, and, keep going.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for hopping on the podcast, and for all of our listeners. We hope to have you back for our next episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye-bye. Unplanned and Untold drops new episodes every other Wednesday. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review if you love this episode. I'm Caitlin Willing, and this is Unplanned and Untold.